Good afternoon, everyone. Ross LaFleur here with Kary, Roux, and Pickles barbecue sauce. Today I'm back in the kitchen cooking up something a little bit different. Cinco de Mayo is coming up this weekend, so I decided to make pork tacos. We're going to make barbecue pulled pork tacos using our Pickles barbecue sauce and our queen bee seasoning. So to make this dish, what I did getting started is I preheated my oven to 300 degrees. And you can cook this in the smoker. It gives it a real great flavor if you are able to cook it in a smoker. But I do know that a lot of people don't have smokers, so we're going to cook it in the oven. It's still very delicious and very easy to prepare. So what I have here to start out with is our pork. This is a pork butt roast. It's 7 pounds bone in. The top side has some fat on it, the bottom side doesn't. And to start out seasoning this pork roast is I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of queen bee seasoning. And then I have 3 tablespoons of a dry rub. You can use any dry rub that you like. This one has a little bit of sugar in it. I like it. It gives it a good barbecue flavor. So I'll add those 2 together. Then I'm going to sprinkle this on top of the roast, all around the roast. You want to cover it well. And I'm going to rub the seasoning in. The reason why you put so much seasoning on this roast is because the inside of the roast isn't getting seasoned. Like if you're seasoning any other meat that you're cooking rice and gravy, you get to season and you get seasoning on each piece of meat, on each side of meat. Each bite has seasoning on it. But on this, it's so thick that it's only the outside that's going to have seasoning on it. So I'm going to get all the sides covered. Excuse me. And once they're all covered, I'm going to take the roast and I'm going to put it in my pot. In the pot, I don't need any oil, any water. All I want to do is make sure that the fat side is up. What the fat does is it starts rendering off from the top and it bastes it as it goes while it's cooking. So all that fat is going to start disappearing off of it. You can always take it off at the end whenever it's cooked. But this is going to help cook it, and that way you don't need any oil or water on there. So I'm going to take this roast, I'm going to stick it in the oven. Now cooking time for this roast is, I like to go about an hour per pound. An hour per pound, make sure that whenever you finish cooking it, it pulls apart real easy. So I'm going to cook this for 7 hours. While our pork roast is cooking, I'm going to go ahead and fix the coleslaw that we're going to put on the tacos. Similar to the way you could get a pulled pork sandwich where it has the meat and it has coleslaw on top, we're going to go ahead and make some coleslaw to put on the tacos. So what I have here is I have a bag of 3-color coleslaw. Put that in my bowl. Then I'm going to take 3/4 of a cup of mayonnaise. Add that in. Then I have 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar and 2 tablespoons of sugar. Then I'm going to go ahead, this is my personal preference, I'm going to add a little fresh salt and pepper, fresh cracked salt and pepper. Now I can stir this up, and I like to do this right whenever I put my pork in the oven. The reason why is because the dressing is going to combine the longer you let it sit, so I like it to marinate in the bowl. So even though it's in there for that full 7 hours while you're cooking the roast, it's going to make the flavor of the coleslaw even better. Alright, now everything's mixed in. I'm going to go ahead and cover this up, put it in the refrigerator, and let it sit and marinate until the pork's done. Okay, so now our pork roast is almost done, and my coleslaw has been sitting in the refrigerator covered, marinating in that coleslaw dressing. Every once in a while I'll stir it up just to make sure that it all gets marinated evenly. But the last thing I have to prepare, which only takes about 10 minutes, is my sauce. Now, if you happen to see the video where I did our mini meatballs, which is great for parties, I used a sweeter sauce rather than our straight pig stand barbecue sauce. And for these tacos, I'm going to do the same thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a whole quart, that's 32 ounces of pig stand barbecue sauce. I'm going to pour it out into a pot. Then I have 1 cup of dark brown sugar. I'm going to add this in, stir it up, and I'm just going to put this on the stove and let it simmer for right around 10 minutes. And in that 10 minutes, the sugar is going to combine with the pig stand barbecue sauce, and it's going to make the sauce a little bit sweeter. I just find it goes well with the coleslaw that we're going to add, and also our last little ingredient that we're going to throw on top of there. So we're put this on the stove. We'll be pulling the pork out in a minute. All right, guys, so the wait's over. Our pork butt has cooked for 7 hours, and it's very tender. What I did is I went ahead and took the roast out of the pot, and I put it on a baking sheet. So that way I can go ahead and pull the meat apart. And it also gets it out of any fat that was at the bottom of the pot. And whenever I was taking it out, it actually fell in half. It's so tender. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I have 2 forks. At the top, remember, is the fat cap that we had on the roast. So I'm going to push that off. And then right here you have the meat. Right, this part has the bone in it, and this part is actually boneless. So I'm going to go ahead and start pulling apart using my 2 forks, and it pulls apart very easy. And I'll show you how I like to fix my taco. I'm not going to pull all of this apart right now, but I'm going to take some of this pork meat, shredded pork. If you like it a little bit finer, you can put it on a cutting board and cut it up some. But myself, personally, I like the longer strands on it. So I'm going to put some of this in a bowl. Then I'm going to take my barbecue sauce that has the brown sugar that's been simmering for right around 10 minutes. And I'm just going to scoop some of this right on top. Then I'll mix it up to make sure it all gets covered in barbecue sauce. Then right here I have 2 soft taco shells. So I'm going to take a little bit of the pork with the barbecue sauce on it, put it into each one. And then next is our coleslaw. Our coleslaw has been sitting in the refrigerator for pretty much the entire time the pork's been cooking, so that way it marinated well. It's still crunchy, but the dressing was allowed it to marinate a little bit into the coleslaw. So I'm going to scoop some of this on. And the last thing that I enjoy on these pork tacos, similar to a pulled pork sandwich, is pickles. These are just regular slices of hamburger pickles. Put a few on each one. And there you go. There's our pulled pork tacos using our queen bee and our pig stand barbecue sauce. Now this, like I said, this recipe is really good if you don't like it on tortillas, or it's just another time of the year you can put it on a hamburger bun. It's very good. And you can also play with the dry rub or anything that you like. So I hope you enjoy this recipe, and I hope you have a great time this weekend. Thank you for watching.